I'm never sure when we're live because it says live, but there's always a bit of a delay. But I think we're live now. So welcome everyone to Chargeheads Live. My name's Tim Aylan. I started Chargeheads UK 3 years ago. It's all about modified EVs and EV conversions. And every Thursday, 8 o'clock, we have equally passionate people about in conjunction with EV conversions and modified EVs. And this week we have Jerome Andre. Jerome, please tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you get involved in the electric market.
Well, there's so much to do right now in the EV world, but yeah, my name is Jerome Andre. I've been a journalist for 25 years and an EV consultant for about 7 years, maybe a bit more. So working with OEMs, tier ones, and specialists in the EV conversion world, but also in the EV world in general. That's it in a very small nutshell, but yeah, that's it.
I think you're being too modest, Jerome. You do so much right now. I think when I first met you, you were kind of talking about the EV Builder's Guide, which is a great magazine publication all about modified EVs, EV conversions. And now you've got a YouTube channel as well, which, the amount of good content coming from that is fantastic. But Jerome, I'll tell you where we should start. We should start at the beginning. So you're obviously very passionate about electric cars. You weren't a petrolhead before, were you?
I was a big time petrolhead. Grew up in a petrolhead family. Drove very nice cars for a long time. Still am in my Land Rover. So since 1997, I've been driving Land Rovers. I discovered Land Rovers in America. The boss I had back then was collecting Defenders, which are very rare in the US. Mm-hmm. And he was sending them to Hawaii for his friends to play with. So when I got back to France, so something we haven't mentioned, I'm French. So if you're wondering about the accent, that's it. And got a Discovery, and then classic Range Rovers and P38, L322s, many of them L405, so the more modern one. And yeah, I've been really involved with the Land Rover community for an industry for over 20 years. And the first person I met in the EV conversion world was Moggy, because he had that's 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. That's before the business and everything. So he had done the Targa 911 and his Beetle, and he was working on a classic Range Rover. So that's how I met him. And he did a fantastic work with the classic Range Rover. We did a very nice story for Land Rover Owner magazine in the UK. And I asked him about converting the L322, which is the early 2000 to late 2000 Range Rover. But unfortunately, it's too modern and there's no market for it. So it never happened. So then I got more interested into it and did some training outside work. And then did more training and then ended up delivering training for Stellantis. So I was working with Oxford, especially during COVID, because all the specialists, all the workshop managers, they couldn't receive training, but they were receiving brand new EVs or hybrid cars, and they had no clue how to work on them, not even the basic safety training. So I did a lot of this remotely. So that got me to focus even more on the safety aspect of it and the basic training of EV system and hybrid system. And it got me to meet even more people in the industry. And then I met more people. I met you probably a couple of years ago, or many other people in the US, particularly in the EV conversion world, the team at Legacy EV. Did some training with them in Phoenix. And the training was dedicated more to the conversion to EV technology. And then I met the team at Felton, or back then it was Zero EV. Years ago. And through the EV Builder's Guide. So this publication.
Just happened to have a copy ready
on my desk.
So prepared earlier.
Well, the funny thing is, it shows how big the community is. If we managed to do a print magazine 2 years ago, and the magazine is growing and growing. The magazine started as a 2 issue per year, and now we are 4 issues per year. It's still growing. And to be fair, we could do a monthly magazine potentially. So yeah, it's exciting. It shows how strong the community is, how big the industry is, because we can even produce a print magazine. And obviously, on the other side, there is the YouTube channel, Out of Spec Renew, which is a spin-off of Out of Spec Reviews and Out of Spec Studios in America, in Denver. So very, very strong. So the main channel is a very strong channel dedicated to EVs and testing EVs, driving long distance, going throughout the United States, driving them, doing 100 to 0 test, and there was a market, I guess you could say, for a channel dedicated to converted to EVs and modified EVs. So we haven't talked about modified EVs, but I love modified EVs as much as I like classic converted to EV. So
that was my question. Do you have a preference of modified EVs or EV conversion?
So going back even more, before I was telling you about the Land Rover, my first job was working for American Classic and Muscle Car magazine. So I love my muscle cars and everything. I love the modified, Mopars and so on. But I also love the new product, the new Teslas, the new BYDs. It's fantastic what everybody is bringing to the table. So very exciting time, and the transition from legacy manufacturer to brand new companies popping out all over the place. So it's very exciting times to be in this industry.
And for the people that might not know, what actual EV do you drive at the moment?
Tesla Model 3 Performance and BMW i3S.
Very nice. And I think, you've mentioned to me before, and just before we started, that you've been quite amazed with the i3S. You're quite taken with it.
Yeah, even being used to the performance of the Model 3, the i3S is surprisingly peppy. Yeah, and you have different modes. So when I got it, I was trying to get the most range out of it for a couple of weeks, and then I just said, let's go sport. And yeah, it's really fun to drive. The range is very good. It's well over 130 miles.
Okay.
So in the summer, it could go as high as 160. And the fun detail about this car, it was a press car, so it's fully loaded, and it's been in Top Gear and different publications. So
oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a one
right up your street.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
have you got any plans? Have you got any plans to modify the Model 3 or the i3 at all?
I don't have any plan to modify them.
No.
I don't really have time to work on my cars. So going back a bit more, I used to have a collection of classic Land Rovers and very one-off Range Rovers and competition used cars and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, just cleaning those cars and taking care of them to make sure they drive, it takes so much time. So I parted with most of them and focus on EVs. So I enjoy driving the EVs, but working on them, not so much. And because, as we've said before, I've been traveling a lot and traveling even more next year, next year, I don't really have time to work on my own cars.
No, I can appreciate that, because when it comes to the weekends, if I'm not doing videos or, family stuff, if I need to do an oil, I was just about to say oil change. Yeah, an oil change, because I've got a 3-litre V6 petrol Toyota Alphard camper van, which isn't converted yet. Unfortunately, the TVR's taken up all that money. But, even, doing repairs on my 1970s scooter, it all takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know what you mean. But no, that's good.
And so many shows also in the UK and in the US. There's probably 2 shows per month that I need to go to, want to go to. So just in the EV and the classic car shows, yeah.
Well, talking about EV shows, we were talking about one that's coming up soon. What are the EV shows in the UK that you're excited about? And because I know I've got a couple up my sleeve that I'm really excited about. So yeah, I'm just interested in the world of Jerome. What are you especially excited about in the EV world this year?
Well, I'm still just as excited to go to shows like Electrify everything, especially the
Yeah,
one in London coming up, because there will be some cars we've never seen converted to EVs. So they are not like converted to EV shows, but again, meeting with the whole industry and the community is very exciting. But I'm also working on attending another show which has nothing to do with EVs. So petrol hedonism is obviously the name says it all. It's a
petrol
V8.
hedonism. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I've been speaking with Chiro, who runs the show, and it was pretty much anti-EV. So we've talked to him for quite a bit, and now he understands it more. So there will be some content about this soon. But my point is, we'll have a stand. So I'll gather vehicles on the stand where modified EVs and converted to EV cars will be displayed, and then Chris Hazel from Felton will be on stage discussing ICE versus EVs on stage with Chiro. So that should be quite exciting.
Well,
And
I prefer EV with ICE, not hybrid, but it's all about accepting all the cars, which is important to me. It's an interesting debate, and if anyone wants to check out last week's podcast or live, we had Chris Felton from Felton on. It was a really good discussion, all about the latest EV conversion tech. So go and check that out. But yeah, the petrol hedonism event's going to be very interesting. Chiro only lives just down the road from me, and I've known Chiro for a while now. And I've been on his channel once, ironically, and he was having fun in an EV that video, and we went to go and see modified EVs. That was at goodness me, it'll come to you in a minute. At a particular
but
dealership,
Chiro, like many people in the traditional car world, are under the impression that if you like EVs, you don't like other cars. But all the people that are converted their classic cars, they just love cars in general, and they love driving.
Absolutely. And I think it's one thing that I get frustrated with, that people think, EV, it's like you're almost banished, not banished, but you are honestly you're kind of banished from the car world in some circles. And I say majority of all my friends are all petrol heads, and I think there are a lot of raised eyebrows when I went down the EV route and converting the TVR to electric and all the rest of it. But ultimately, I love cars. I've always loved cars. I've worked in the industry with cars for years, and now I'm in fast charging, which is associated with transport, cars, trucks. I'm getting into trucks and vans these days. So, it is, let's say, hurtful, but it is a bit upsetting sometimes when people absolutely slate you, when that at the end of the day, it's a car passion. It's just a different drivetrain, and the reason you, me, other people have gone that route is various reasons. But ultimately, I like an exciting car, and I think with the electrification of transport, we've got the exciting technology from batteries and motors. There's so much going on at the moment. The amount of torque that can be generated by just a small motor. It's exciting times. But I just want to say hello to everyone that's listening, and thanks for your comments so far. Hi, Mark, Charles Positive, Foxdown Follies, Lars, Jamie, EV Conversions. Thanks for dialing in. Sorry, Jerome, you were saying.
Yeah, we're lucky in the UK. We have a very good infrastructure. I know people are complaining, but it's one of the best infrastructure as far as charging and fast charging in the UK. It's a small country. You can drive anywhere almost on a full tank. You just stop for 20 minutes, and unless you need to go from Land's End to Scotland in a day, which some people do, not many, but yeah, it's you. As long as you top up every night, I mean, you have at least 250 miles to do, which you'll stop to go to the loo anyway. So,
Yeah, and I'm definitely living that at the moment because I'm doing a hell of a lot of miles. I did 2,000 miles this month, for work, another 1,000 for personal, and Rusty, my Tesla, is 97,000 miles. So driving to Southampton and back with no charging, Bristol and back no charging, it is possible. Don't expect to go Land's End and back in a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf or a Mazda MX-30 though.
to be fair, I used to go to Land's End in my Range Rover, which is a V8, a petrol V8, and you need to fill up anyway. So,
but I think there's a lot of jokes on social media these days for the EV community. It's like, oh, I can drive a Passat's a good one, Passat for 800 miles. It's like, if I start in the morning, I'll have a coffee. I'll need to stop 120 miles, 100%. And like by the time 10 minutes I've gone toilet, or 20 minutes I've gone toilet and got a coffee, that's the difference of like 50 or 100-mile range if I stop. So is what it is.
And the funny thing, it's almost counterproductive to have long range. Like every time we go on a family trip, we stop at the petrol station and we go to the loo. Obviously, plug in first at on the supercharger. Go order food, go to the loo, come back. The food is not even ready. I need to move the car because it's stopped up. So
this is it. Yeah, this is it. But do you know what?
Again, unless you've experienced it, you don't really realize it. Like some people don't understand it because they've never tested it. So let's part of our job to mention this.
I'm going to steer us more towards EV conversions or modified EVs because do you know what? We could talk about that.
Yeah, you're right.
The cows come home. They'd be like, yeah, listen to Chargeheads the other day, and all they were talking about was going to the toilet when between charging, which I'm sure people have experienced that anyway. But if we start on the modified EV front, I mean, I chose the Tesla. One big reason, other than all the benefits that come with Tesla, was because the modified market for that Tesla in terms of the aftermarket parts was just fantastic. Especially if you see America, I was like, brilliant. There's plenty to choose from. And I tend to go for cars traditionally, which are a little bit different. And a lot of people could argue a Tesla is extremely samey. So what's kind of your thoughts on the modified EV scene? Obviously, Tesla's quite big in terms of the modifications you can do. Are there any other EVs that you think, do you know what, that's a good EV to modify?
You mean to convert to use parts from, or just to modify?
Just to modify, whether that's for track or for shows or anything really. Have you got something? Any particular EVs where you think, oh, that would be a good one?
Yeah, I can't wait for someone to modify a Lucid Air. Drop 400 pounds and make it even quicker. Yeah. Imagine Ben Collins at the wheel of a Lucid with 400 pounds less. Yeah, that would be quite quick. But more common cars, just like the Mach-E. I know it's not the super efficient car, but with a nice body kit, a nice color, it's quite something.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually. Yeah, because I've seen a couple of modified Mach-E's and they do look pretty cool.
And there's a lot of aftermarket parts for them already. Wheels, body kits. Yeah. I filmed a video with Neil in America. He did one that was at SEMA actually. So it's all prepped like for a Dakar rally. So people are actually modifying their EVs to go off-road. That's quite interesting.
Funnily enough, Foxam Follies has just put, in fact, I'll put it up on the screen. It just said, is Ralph still working on the track IMEV? Well, I did see it the other day because I went to go and have a look at the TVR Tesla swap, and it didn't look like it was rally prepped much. So maybe I'll have to ask him. But that's really interesting. You mentioned that, Foxam Follies, because near me, and I've not seen it for a while, but there is an IMEV which has got upgraded wheels on it, quite big wheels. I mean, it does look a bit like a roller skate, but I tell you what, when I saw it where I live, and I've been trying to track him down for ages. We were stopped at the lights. This is the infatuation I have with modified EVs, Jerome, and people watching. is I jumped out of my car at the lights and I knocked on the window. I was like, this is awesome. And I obviously had a Chargehead sticker with me to say, check this out. And not heard from him since. So obviously scared him away. This strange person knocked on my window. Just look at Paul. Paul said the USA is one of the strongest car cultures in the world. Americans were building EV conversions back in the 70s, partly as a result of the fuel crisis, but also simply because of the challenge. There we go. Yeah, Paul, you're absolutely right.
So that's a very good point. And soon I will take you for a visit of the EV museum. So in Flagstaff, Arizona, there is a museum. On the Route 66 museum, there is a part of it that's dedicated. And they have probably 30 classic EVs. So it goes from like a 1930s hot rod with a very basic forklift motor to some launch speed electric cars and a couple of classic Tesla Roadsters and unique pieces like this. So quite interesting. They even collect chargers.
Wow. So, well, it's interesting because, Paul mentioned about the, the USA being into it in the 70s. And I know he was very much part of the EV conversion world, I want to say 20 years ago. You look at the technology, how it's changed now. But even talking to Chris Hazel at the last week's Chargeheads Live, the technology now, because there's money being ploughed in, there's interest now. I mean, when I started my conversion 2.5 years ago, and now the technology, mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
And today you could convert a car in a much shorter time. There are plenty of systems you can buy off the shelf, bolt-on, plug-in. So,
well, Legacy EV announced, and I'm sure you can probably go into a bit more detail with your ties with them, that Legacy EV have got this new cost-effective conversion. While I open the door for my cat, Jerome, I'm sure you know a bit about this conversion. So can you tell me and the rest of the viewers a bit more about the Legacy EV conversion kit?
Well, they've announced it today or yesterday. They've introduced just a plug-in system to use all the components from the Leaf, and you can pretty much install it on anything. It's a bit catch-22 because the kit is $10,000 US, so it is cost-effective compared to designing a full system yourself. And I guess for $3,000 to $5,000 you could buy a Leaf in America or in the UK, and then maybe for $25,000 you could build your own car with a good base car. So that's quite effective, and there's no one right now offering anything close to it. So that's definitely something I want to check out in the flesh.
Stop the press. Ralph is watching, and he's just informed us the Mayav is going to be a rally car. Well, obviously, Ralph, we're going to have you on because we need to hear more about the EV rally car and all the other rally cars that you like to build, because Ralph's got a bit of a thing about off-road exciting vehicles, I've found, because so many times he suggested that the TVR should be turned into some form of rally vehicle. It kept on suggesting putting, the four-wheel drive rally tyres on, etc., which isn't quite in keeping with what I'm going to be using it for. But like the passion there. Charge Positive mentioned about the TJIN edition Mach-E is amazing. I think I know the one he means. Yeah,
that's the one I mentioned. Yeah, Neil's brown one, sand-colored one. So we filmed a video, so it will be on the channel in a couple of weeks.
There we go. And Paul, his friend Roderick Wild, formerly EV builder and part supplier, is part of the museum project. So there we go. Paul you never stand to amaze me. The circles that Paul is in. He really has a finger in everything. Sounds a bit wrong, that. Sorry, Paul. Charge Positive. Last summer, the EV LC converted a VW bus in 5 to 6 weeks with students as a hands-on project. There we go. That is impressive. And like you said, Jerome, it's having these EV conversion kits to make it more plug and play, easier for everyone. I mean, it's going to have to come a long way to get to the point where I can convert the vehicle. However, I'm hoping once funds allow, I'm going to jump onto Ralph's course because he's got EV conversion and many other courses to help people, get the skills and the knowledge to be able to convert their own vehicles safely. And of course, Felton does as well, which Chris mentioned last week. But yeah, in
And
terms of
training all over the place in the UK, in America, Legacy EV also provide online training.
yeah,
Anybody even considering buying parts to start converting a car, the first thing they should do is do the basic training, at least the safety training. And it costs less than £100 to get the basic training. So it's
absolutely
worth it. Yeah. And I know I always say don't touch the orange stuff, but it goes further than this. But at least it's a good tip, I guess. But yeah, spend £100 or a couple of £100, and you will understand more what you need to learn and what you need to do and what you should not do.
Well,
it's a good investment, yeah.
No, absolutely. And funnily enough, talking of Ralph again, we did a EV conversion safety course video. I mean, this is 2.5, 3 years ago. So if you want just an insight in terms of the safety, I'd say you still need to go on the course. But as an insight, it's a great video. And Ralph is really good at explaining things and highlighting the dangers, etc., and the correct tools, essentially.
Yeah. And Ralph has a wide range of training also. So
yes,
talk to, yeah,
absolutely. So Jerome, now I know you've got a bit of a Land Rover thing going on. So are you planning to do an EV conversion at some point? What's the dream in terms of what you would want to convert?
Yeah, I'm in between Defender and Classic Mini, so polar opposites. But I've been testing both. I would love them just as much. Yeah. The Defender is interesting just to go off road and just the torque you get, and it's quieter also. So that's quite interesting. And there's many companies offering or converting or offering systems for them. But the Classic Mini, I've never been in a traditional Mini, and then I tested the Recharge Heritage Classic Mini, and it's just so good. What I really liked about this system, it doesn't transform the Mini into a 300 horsepower Mini. It keeps it a Mini. So it drives like a Mini, it corners like a Mini, and you can push it in corners. It just has fun. But it stays light. It's obviously quiet. So that might be the one I would be considering doing in not so distant future.
I must admit, having driven the Recharge Mini, I can only echo that because it does drive amazingly well. I don't think I've driven an old shape Mini. Maybe when I was about 9 on my relations lap or something like that, in a field. But yeah, it's an amazing car. I must admit though, I really want to drive a Tesla powered one. Specifically, yes, the electric classic car one would be quite cool, but have you seen the specialist components one that's been around for a while that has the Tesla small drive unit at the back?
Yeah,
very exciting. Yeah,
it's a completely different thing. It's almost like a toy. Like a Classic Mini is a toy already. It's not like a daily. Even though the Recharge one, because it doesn't deliver a silly amount of power, you could daily it. I drove it in London. It's a fantastic car in London, especially with power steering. It's just a fantastic car for the city.
Yeah. Up to 50, it's really sprightly. Yeah, very sprightly. Yeah.
But yeah, 300 plus horsepower, 200 kilowatt one would be quite fantastic. Yeah, as long as you can keep it light, because the more power you need, the bigger pack you need. So that's how you set it up. But yeah, the thing is, with regular wheels on the Mini, you can only put so much power on the ground. So
unless you get the arches and the slightly wider wheels. But
it's still a Mini then. That's the thing. Yeah, I love I love stock classic cars and I love modified classic cars. And then you put the EV option in it, so it's very interesting to see those options. So it's fantastic meeting all the owners because they come from all type of background, but as I said before, we just love cars first and foremost.
There must be a push and pull in terms of keeping it kind of classic and standard, and then the modified side? Or are you trying to get a happy medium, trying to get a balance?
The thing is, I'm an 80s kid. I always loved the Testarossa, and I got lucky enough to drive it when I was in France.
Oh wow!
To have an
Yeah,
accident one. So it's a fantastic car. And I know people that like the purest Ferraris, they don't like it. It's not a high performance one. I don't care. I just love the design and the performance.
well, if you like the '80s, Jerome, what about the DeLorean?
I could show you a lot of DeLorean stuff here. Yeah, I'm a big fan. So I'll go back to the Testarossa, but yeah, DeLorean. I've been talking to Kevin, who's building one. Jake, the next issue of EV Builders Guide, we has a very nice story about his DeLorean. The funny thing about this one, it used to be powered by a twin turbo V6 from a Grand Prix, a Brick Grand Prix. It was the fastest DeLorean ever made. And then he repaired the engine, then took it out and used a Nissan Leaf system. So completely different type of thing. But going back to the Testarossa, I love them as they were, but I also like Moggy's way of converting it. It's fantastic. The design system is quite impressive. And you've got CCS, so you could daily it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I got lucky enough to also try the one Gas Monkey Garage did, and with the chopped top and just a small wheel.
I saw a good picture of you in it, Jerome. I was very jealous.
Yeah, it's quite something. So it is a 3-seater configuration. So that was quite exciting on its own. So they had it ready for the show at SEMA, and I've been talking to Josh day before yesterday, and they're completely redoing the car. So they're upgrading and doing a few things that needed doing. So when it's ready, I'll go back and do a video so I can share this quite crazy experience with you guys.
No, I'm really excited about that conversion, not because it's a Ferrari, but what really excites me about that, the Gas Monkey conversion, other than the fact that Gas Monkey are doing an EV conversion, which tickled me quite a bit, because it was actually Gas Monkey that encouraged me to do Chargeheads, believe it or not, is the fact that the Cascadia motor, because myself and Ralph were talking about the Cascadia motor for the TVR originally, but because I'm a stubborn person, I really wanted a used motor, and I decided to make my life more difficult, and Ralph's mainly, sorry Ralph, by going down the used route to make it greener. But yeah, the Cascadia motor really excites me, and my dream, you look at the Matt Watson Car Wow drags, what I would love to see is Moggy's Ferrari versus the Gas Monkey one. That would make my day. That really would. So Matt Watson, or whoever, Chiro's good at linking people up, and I think you can link up the legacy. So
yeah, the thing is, this could actually happen because Moggy is sending a couple of cars and complete kits to the US. So eventually there will be one over there. I do think Moggy's car would win hands down. But we'll see. We'll see what the guys at Gas Monkey do if they change the powertrain. We'll see.
What are they going a bit techie now? So buckle up. So they're obviously using the Cascadia motor. Do you know what other kind of systems are they using on that particular EV conversion?
No, to be fair, they kept it quiet because the car was not 100% working for the show, and they were redoing the battery pack. So the challenge was to build the car in 40 days before the show. So the Legacy EV guys helped. They trained the Gas Monkey guys, and then they helped them build the system. But some part of it was not 100% finished. So the modules were laid, but it was not a battery pack per se. So stuff like that. So they're actually redoing the whole thing to make it 100%.
Okay. So it's a bit hush-hush in terms of what they're using for a controller and stuff like that then?
Yeah. And that's why you won't see many pictures just yet of the drivetrain. But the car was running and everything. It's just, like, say, phase one of what could be done with, again, the guys starting in less than 2 months with a crash-damaged Testarossa and, converting it, repairing it, modifying it, painting it, and then putting on a trailer and drive for 2.5 days to bring it to the show. So they managed to do it. But going more importantly, you have key content creators and TV personalities promoting the fact that you can convert a classic car. And Richard was the best guy to do it because he's just, setting trends. And he goes on national TV and on YouTube. So, yeah, it was.
So who was the best person? I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, Richard Rollins.
Yeah, Richard Rollins. Yeah.
So you have two stars, and the builders are both Richard. So that's quite funny. Yeah.
Ironically, I work with someone now who, in the charging business I work for, Vital EV. If you want fast DC charging, give us a shout. The guy that I work with, he's just started working with us. He looks just like Richard Rawlins. Honestly, spitting image. Yeah. So yeah. But it's funny how Gas Monkey incentivized me to start Chargeheads. But I think during the COVID times, watching various episodes of Gas Monkey, I think certainly kept me going during the pandemic. But out of interest, Jerome, I know obviously you've got the tie-ins with Legacy EV and Felton. So put those cars aside for a minute. What are your kind of favorite EV conversions? If you don't count the Legacy EV and Felton ones, what are the ones that really impress you?
Well, just the fun thing is, before I give you an answer, is we are spoiled because we have the chance to choose between probably 30 to 40 quality companies offering systems, either components or like kits or complete systems. So I've been very impressed with the Ampere EV systems, I'm losing my Hypercraft guys also bringing systems. So the Hypercraft guys have been, hush about what they're developing, but they've been growing significantly. And they've announced another partnership today. So it's funny because I met them 2 years ago, and it was just a handful of those guys, maybe 15, if that, engineers and sales guys. And now they're 70 plus. So It just shows how the industry is scaling and how big the demand is in America. And also, just like in many other companies, the interesting thing is they've noticed that while we all love converting our classic cars, the market is in converting utility cars, so pickup trucks, transit vans, wide panel vans, and lorries. But also, several companies are working in the marine application, so electrifying boats. And there's a huge demand in the boat market. So rig boats and smaller boats that get you from the shore to your yacht. And the funny thing is, it ends up cheaper for owners to convert a boat to electric than to run and service two big V8s year round when you only use the boat a handful of times. So
this is a really interesting subject, actually, because having had Janusz on, who was involved in the I think it was Janusz EV conversion on the Mini taxi, and I know that the similar company that he was working for were doing conversions on vans. The trouble is, you got the likes of Maxus, SIAC, Chinese EV brand, bringing across vans really, really cheaply. But I suppose you don't have that in the boat market, do you? I mean, I don't really know the boat market at all, but I would assume that it would be, like you said, a lot more cost effective to convert a boat to electric than, I mean, are there any electric boats coming out? I mean, I don't.
There's a couple of companies like RS and a few companies doing them in low volumes, but I think it's scaling significantly. And again, the budgets for boats are significant, way more than converting a classic car. So it's quite interesting. I know they were using electric motors already, but the technology in battery pack was not there. And more companies are bringing solutions for this. Because the good thing on a boat weight and volume is not such an issue as it is on a car. So it's a perfect solution.
Well, obviously, there's no,
panels too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, EV conversions. I mean, there's some form of regulation in the UK, but I suppose the boat market hasn't even come close yet. So, I mean, from an opportunity point of view, and like I said, it just seems to be an absolute no-brainer. And I know, sorry to plug again, but Vital EV also do charging solutions for marine vehicles. But I know that that's something that the charging market, the charging world, business companies are focusing on as well. So yeah, it's a great opportunity, and anything to get fossil fuels off another transport type.
It's not only bringing a greener option for boats, but it's also becoming a requirement to bring quiet boats. So if you're in the city, for instance, you want a quiet boat when you get to the marina. So yeah, it's a win-win, really. Yeah, and it's cheaper than ever to manufacture battery packs. So.
Yeah, and loads of space for solar on the top. You know, I'm sure everyone's seen barges with solar on the top before.
And it's not just for ice boats; it's also for sailing boats, because they still use a Jenny all the time. So they could use solar panels and a battery pack, and not need the Jenny. At least not need to run it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, I'm getting flashbacks of going for a run because I live near a river and lakes. Like having a run by the river and getting gassed out by some smelly diesel, canal boat, which isn't ideal because you know how stinky they are. But there we go. But yeah, in terms of the future of the modified EV and EV conversion market, I mean, where do you see it going? Do you see it going a lot more wide mainstream? Where do you see the future of EV conversions and modified EVs?
I see two things, and when I enter the EV conversion world, my dream case scenario, as much as I love converting classic cars and the world around it, it just makes more sense to convert as many cars and vans that do a lot of miles, because most of the converted classics, they don't do many miles, and they will not do many miles as ICE on their ICE version.
Until the TVR wedgie, Jerome, of course.
Well, you see, I mean, you're not burning fumes, so that's always good. Fuel, but
that's true. That is true.
But again, white panel vans should be the first one to be converted, because they do so many miles. So at least so they can go in the cities, it just makes sense. Camper vans would be quite fantastic to do, and like food trucks would be good to have them running on electric energy rather than running a diesel generator in the back for a whole weekend.
I mean, I think that would be a good EV kit. I mean, the number of diesel camper vans, bear in mind, camper vans, the value of them is quite high. So it might not actually be a bad vehicle to convert to electric. There's not exactly many EV conversion camper vans out there. I doubt that the Toyota Alphard that I've got is going to be focused on. But obviously, we've got think about this. Obviously, we've got the classic ones that are being converted. But I'm thinking more the T4, the T5 type transporters. Because, I mean, you think how many of those are on the road? There's loads.
Yeah. So, funny thing, I was talking to someone today that's doing T5 on T6s, and I think he's the first one to do it. But going back,
the guy with the Tesla.
He didn't say what he was doing. We were just texting earlier today, but I'm going to visit him to learn more, because he's not just doing these. So, and he's working on doing low volume systems. But on the other end, you can also convert a EV van into a camper, which a company in Bristol that We Are EV. They have a couple of Nissans that you can hire for the weekend. They're fully converted with a 4-bed, and they're working on a Vito also. So more option. And with the brand new Vitos, you can actually travel throughout the UK, and then when you can spend your whole weekend without plugging to anything.
Well, as Foxdown Follies just mentioned at the bottom there, you got Moggy just did a video on a Nissan ENV 200 camper conversion. Now, what's really interesting about that is that there is a company up north called Electron that are doing upgrade battery packs for similar vehicles. So, if they can improve the range or improve the chemistry, charging speed, longevity, then fantastic. That's something that certainly would be a good idea. But like I said, the problem is, I say problem, the cheaper Chinese vans coming through. We're going to get to that point where actually you could take an ENV 200, you could upgrade the battery pack, you could do the conversion, but actually you can get a brand new Chinese one. And this is kind of the balance that we need. Do we need a tax on those sort of vehicles because of the CO2 generated from producing those things? I think the government needs certainly in this country needs a long, hard look at. Yes, we want to promote it, but it's promoting EVs in the right way. I think that's the key, really.
Yeah. So I think I read very briefly earlier today there will be a gigafactory in the UK producing battery packs.
Is that the Tata one?
That's the Tata one, yes.
Yeah.
So let's produce as much stuff as we can in the country instead of importing stuff from the other end of the country, of the globe. But going back to your question about the future, I think more and more companies, I was talking about Hypercraft and maybe Felton and those companies will be producing more and more systems, maybe making it easier for traditional garages to do conversion with basic training and being able to convert more and more classic cars, bearing in mind that classic, like regular cars of today, are the classic cars for the next generation. So there will be some quite exciting cars that will be converted maybe in 5 or 10 years that we would not even consider today because they're just too modern. But people growing up today will look forward to convert into electric. So as long as there will be a ICE car, there will be a car to convert. So that's where I see the EV conversion will go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on. You go, Jerome.
I was going to say, but also on a technical point of view, I think maybe people will start using more high-end components from, say, Tesla Plaid or Lucid drivetrain, because that would be fantastic if someone manages to, reverse engineer a Lucid drivetrain. That would be quite something.
I mean, before we get onto the point that I've just popped up there, I mean, you look at Fisker. Fisker are literally on the ropes. I personally don't see Lucid lasting. I mean, this is where we're at. We're in kind of a recession due to, let's not get too political, certain wars and certain things that let's not get into it. We can watch Joe Rogan and Russell Brand for that after the politics. But there are a lot of financial issues. Not everyone's got their spare money at the moment, so I think there's going to be a lot of casualties. Simply, not only in China because there's so many, but also in America. I think this is what we're going to see this year and next year, and then we're going to start refining to where the key electric car producers, van producers are going to start producing from. It's an interesting.
There's only one company actually making money that is profitable doing EVs. It's Tesla. Even GM and Ford, unfortunately, they're losing money on each car, and they slowed down production. I got the chance to visit Nikola factory and then the Lucid factory, and it would be incredible if Lucid went out of business. I know on paper they are very bad. They have like 6 months ahead of them, so it would be tricky. But it's a huge factory, and the team was fantastic. I don't really see them go bust. I think Rivian, they have like 18 months in cash, which is not that much either. It would be a shame if those guys went bust. And Tesla almost went bust also. So let's fingers crossed that they make it, because they're fantastic products. And down the line, they would be fantastic part bins for our conversions.
Oh, do you know what? I mean, I don't want to see any of them going bust. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I nearly actually ordered a Fisker myself because I love the Fisker. I think it's great. I know that I've heard some
We all
interesting.
know you have very odd taste, so
You know that. I mean, the Tesla. Me buying the Tesla was very out of character for me. If you look at my car history, and lots of my friends will testament to this, I always go for something a bit weird. So I'm converting a TVR Tasman, and as anyone watched the Chargeheads live last week, Chris saying, "Why did you convert a TVR Tasman? Why, Tim?" It's because I'm bananas. That's why. And I think you were tickled by that. I think because I think you were making a few comments at the end there. But from my point of view, and let's talk about it now. Actually, Jerome. Now I've got on the subject. It's British engineering,
yeah.
not the best British engineering.
British electrics, yeah.
Absolutely. So what better is I think I saw a quote recently. I think it was from it was from EV conversion companies. I want to say it was Lunas actually saying that that there's beauty in ugliness. I'm not saying that the TVR Tasman is ugly, but it's just different.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful at the front. The back is kind of forgotten about, but didn't have time for the back. But having something unique. For me, it was having something that was unique, looks wise. British. That was so important to me. Having something. We talk about. Like we talked about the Gigafactory being in the UK. A lot of EV conversions are based on German cars. You got the Porsches, you got the Beetles. That's what was important to me from Chargeheads is actually having a real British brand. A bit of a David and Goliath type brand. Which TVR I see as being. But anyway, enough of the TVR conversion. Talk about that enough. Just going back to Foxhound Follies. Really interesting point. That there's a company in Australia upgrading iMyEVs and doubling the range. I mean, I love that, and something that I really, really look forward to and hope is that there will be companies like that doing similar things to like the Tesla Model S's, Model 3s. I mean,
they were doing it on the Leafs as they were upgrading the battery packs, as you were saying earlier. It's fairly straightforward. There's no market for it anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, one part will be upgrading electric cars of today with drivetrains from tomorrow, definitely. I mean, it's the hot rod philosophy. You just find parts that you can get somewhere, and you just add them to your basic cheap car. So
yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Yes, the Tesla Model 3. When the battery goes, that there will be some companies out there that will be able to upgrade to a LFP battery or a solid state battery, something that will allow it to charge quicker, or all these possibilities. I just hope that it's not going to be we'll be in this position where we've got an electric car that is a throwaway object. It's like a disposable vape. I really hope it doesn't turn out like that. I hope that there is more investment in businesses, more engineering, just investment in these types of businesses and people that see the opportunity, really.
But the market will lead this. I mean, especially in the UK, there are specialists for every niche market. Talking about Land Rovers, every single model of Land Rovers has a specialist for each variant. So there will be specialists about Model 3s and Model S battery packs. There's already a couple of them in the US, so I don't see why there wouldn't be any of them in Europe.
They're certainly popping up. They're starting to pop up more and more. What's this at the bottom here? We got 4 conversion MSX. Model SX has been focused based on power output. Model 3 motor controllers will be huge as the amount of those will be recognized as growing. Offer M3, it's going to be an interesting future. It really is, and I literally can't wait. I would love to have a look into the future to see what happens. So we'll see.
Well, we're already in the future. Imagine 5 years ago, no one would even imagine where we are on the OEM aspect of it, and also the conversion to EV aspect of it. I mean, there's a whole industry that grew, in 5 years. It's crazy.
I want to know why Chris. I want to know why Chris Hazel is laughing and why his picture looks like
Is he on the call?
What are those sketches people do when someone's been robbed? Are you laughing about my TVR discussion again, or something else? I'm really interested by that. But I think it's time for me to ask everyone that's watching live. Please give us a like; it really helps the channel and the 8 o'clock lives. But anybody got any questions for Jerome or myself after this live? Any questions at all? There is a good unique and a bad unique. I knew it was about the TVR, Chris. How dare you? No, it's a British vehicle. Don't get me started.
You can convince yourself as much as you want, but it doesn't work.
Oh, I tell you what. While I wait for any other questions, other than ridiculous questions or statements about converting TVRs. Oh, here we go. What's been the most amazing build you've seen so far, Jerome?
Yes, probably you were talking about Lunas. Lunas, the level of stuff they do is just insane. Not necessarily on the conversion to electric itself, but the craftsmanship into completing the car, the restoration, the customization of the interior, and just the base vehicles they use. And those cars, they're just fantastic inside and out. So that might be one of them. The Rolls Royces, they're doing a classic Range Rover. Yeah, but there's so many of them. It's a tough one. If I had to choose one, it would probably be this one. The Bentleys and the Rolls Royces from Lunas.
Yeah, they are amazing, definitely. I think from me firsthand, because although I have seen one of the Lunas, I wasn't allowed, I wasn't in it or anything like that. But for me, the most exciting was probably Moggy's Ferrari Testarossa, because I got to go out in it with him. Although he didn't, give it the full pasty, which was quite disappointing. But they were still testing it. But from a driving point of view, my most exciting, and it was a long time ago now. And I do put it out there, put the feelers out. I need to drive something as exciting, if not more exciting, was the Eco Classics Design 911 Porsche that I drove. That was amazing, and it sounded fantastic as well. But I've not driven the TVR yet, so you
never stop. You just can't stop.
When you're spending this kind of money, Jerome.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah.
So in terms of shows excited to attend this year. Obviously, we've got Everything Electric that Jerome mentioned earlier. I'll be there with Vital EV the whole, just the Thursday actually, and then we've got there's one in Lutterworth. I'm planning to be at that. If anybody wants to go, Paul, you're absolutely right. Sorry. The G-Wiz was an experience. It blew me away, mate. Blew me away. But going back to shows again. There's one in Lutterworth, which will be a good build, good show. Petrolheadism, it'll be interesting to see what that's like, just from a controversy point of view.
Yeah. So join us it's more of us against thousands of media guys.
The Tesla Supercharger event.
Yes, I'll see you there again. Yeah. And also the traditional shows, like Goodwood last year, there was like 4 specialists. They were all together, so it was quite exciting. Silverstone Classic also, they will have some
really?
to EV cars. So a lot is happening in the UK alone. In America, Electrify Expo is booming in America, and they do OEMs, they do modified, they work with a lot of clubs, and also converted to EV cars.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I've not done the Silverstone Classic before. I've heard it's really, really good. So yeah, absolutely. But if you can't wait for any of those events, Jerome, do you know what? Saturday morning at 11 o'clock.
Oh, yes.
We've got a Chargeheads EV meet at the Ace Cafe. Now, I've never been to the Ace Cafe before.
Yeah.
So I am very excited about that. And I know for a fact that if the weather's good, which it looks like it's going to be, we will have two, not just one, two Beetle EV conversions, a modified ID Buzz, and Rusty will make it down as well. And that's just for starters. So we'll see what else turns up, which would be quite unique. So that's this Saturday, Chargeheads Live, Chargeheads Meet, 11 o'clock, Ace Cafe. If it's cancelled for any reason, I'll whack it on the socials, but jump on Facebook. It's connected there. So, yeah.
Will you be doing more of the Caffeine and Machine, the Ball and the Hill events?
Yeah, I'm thinking I wanted to do Ace Cafe as a bit of a change. And you know what? Because Ace Cafe, I think it's within the ULEZ. I think that could be more of a regular thing because, are they actually going to have future car shows with all the taxis coming in? Is it going to stop them being as popular? There's also a place near Reading that I want to try, which I whacked on our WhatsApp group recently, Jerome. In fact, let me see if I can find it now. Do you feel Europe or US has more EV conversion enthusiasm? Jerome, do you want to take that one away while I confirm the other location for maybe next month?
Yeah, the enthusiasm is just as big on each continent. I think it's picking up in the US. But what I typically say is all the brains in the EV conversion are in the UK. The industry might be bigger and growing even faster in the US. But all the big minds behind the brightest solutions are in the UK. So it's very interesting to be able to be on both, continent and cover both. Yeah. And I think this year is going to be quite exciting with, again, all the events happening, all the companies growing significantly and bringing new systems, new complete cars.
There we go. Jerome, who was asking it? Someone was asking. The place I'm thinking next month for a Chargeheads meet is Podium Place. Have you been to Podium Place before, Jerome?
No.
It's just along from Reading. I thought that might be a good place because I want to try and mix it up, and then we'll probably go back to one of the caffeine machines again because I do want to go to these petrol kind of head havens, not just to upset the petrolheads. I hasten to add, but because I am a car enthusiast and I want to see all different cars there, and I want petrolheads to see exciting EVs there as well. So Ace Cafe Saturday, 11 o'clock, and the following month we're aiming for Podium Place. So any other suggestions, please whack it in the comments. I really appreciate it. And anyone that's watching right now, please like the video because I think, unless you've got anything else to add, Jerome, I think I'm spent.
Depends how many hours do you have left. But no, going back to the event you're mentioning, again, compared to 2 years or 5 years ago, the traditional cars and coffee type of events didn't really consider those cars. And recently I was contacted by the Bristol Queen Square, so they are the local cars and coffee, and they've offered to let me organize a gathering of EVs and convert it to EV this summer. So that's something I'll look into. So crazy the demand. It's not necessarily a demand, but people see it as something very exciting, not anymore as something you shouldn't do. So it's it
is really exciting because these are the first EV meets, aren't they? At the end of the day, so it's really exciting, and wouldn't it be fantastic in a decade time to go? Do you know what? I was at the very first EV meets. Yeah. So come on down for Saturday. But everyone, thanks everyone. Sorry, mate. Say again.
I looked at coming at the one in Reading.
Sorry, say again. I didn't quite hear that.
I'll be looking into coming to the one in Reading next month.
Good man. I haven't confirmed it. It'll probably be the first Saturday morning of the month. That's what I normally do. And let's just have a look to see when that is now. That would be that'll be 6th of April. So there we go. But thanks everybody for commenting. And Jerome, thank you so much for spending time to come on. I really appreciate time coming on. And next week, we have got very exciting news. We've got Darla coming on. And anyone that knows Darla and his channel, that is a very exciting EV conversion, EV charging. He has got his hand in everything, this guy. So I'm really excited by having Darla on next week. But Jerome, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much. I'll see you at Everything Electric show. And thanks everyone again for listening. And I'll see you next Thursday at 8 o'clock.
And make sure to check out our channel, Auto Spec Renew.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry. Make sure you check out EV Builder's Guide and Jerome's channel.
Auto Spec Renew. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Cheers, Jerome.
Bye-bye.